Good evening, and welcome to the regular meeting of the Kernersville Board of Aldermen. We're happy you could join us here this evening. Tonight is Tuesday, December 3rd, 2024, and we'll begin our regular meeting with an invocation by Minister David Miller of Triad Church of Christ. Thank you, Minister.
Let us pray. Almighty God, our Heavenly Father, we thank you for the wonderful freedoms that we have in this nation. Freedoms that allow us, Father, to have a voice in the affairs of the nation that we live in, the state that we live in, and even in the towns in which we live in. Lord, help us never to take that privilege, that right for granted. Lord, I pray that you would bless this meeting of the town council tonight. I pray, God, that you'd bless all the participants. I pray, God, that what may come to fruition tonight is that we might properly do things in such a way as to look out for the welfare of all of our citizens. And also, Father, to do what is in the best interests of the long-term prosperity of our town. Lord, I pray that you'd help us to have good spirits about us tonight. Help us, Father, to be cooperative. Help us, Father, to be cheerful and polite. And help us, Father, to come to some resolution on some of the things that are on the agenda for tonight. Father, be with us through this evening and guide us through life. For it's in Jesus' name we pray, and amen.
Amen. Thank you, Minister Miller. All right, will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Well, what a pretty snowy day it was this morning, but it melted off enough to have a meeting tonight, so we're grateful and thankful for that. Tonight we have a lot of public hearings. We have procedures for a public hearing that we adopted, and many of you are very familiar with. When an agenda item is denoted as a public hearing, persons attending shall be permitted to address the Board of Aldermen regarding the item under consideration. Those speaking in favor speaking first, and those against speaking second. Proponents and opponents shall each be given 20 minutes of time to speak and may choose to allow one speaker to utilize that time or allocate that time amongst different speakers. If the parties do not work out how they'd like to allocate it, the mayor will divide the 20 minutes by the number of speakers wishing to address the board. After the opponents speak, the mayor will allow the proponents 5 minutes for rebuttal. If the proponents choose to exercise this option, the opponents will also have 5 minutes for rebuttal. In the event the proponents do not present a rebuttal, then the opponents shall be given no further time to speak. If you would like to speak at one of these public hearings or as a speaker from the floor at the meeting tonight, there are speaker cards in the back of the room. They look like this. They're at the little table in the back. If you fill that out and hand it to the town manager, Curtis Wisher, if you could raise your hand, Curtis. If you hand them to Curtis, he'll get them to me, and so you can be recognized when it's your opportunity to speak. All right, we will begin with the first item as a public hearing. It's a rezoning. Raymond D. Thomas, attorney for applicant, requesting a two-phase conditional rezoning from LBS to HBC for property unaddressed on North Main Street, located southeast of the intersection of North Main and County Line Road. Zoning docket K784A1. Ms. Garner, do you have a presentation?
We do have a presentation, and I believe Adam is working on getting the streaming up because it's not projecting to the screens. So,
okay. In that case, let me see. Is there anyone who, let's see. We'll take a minute. Ms. Chris Comer, would you like to update us as to the holiday festivities this weekend? include that in the minutes, the names of the speakers and their business address or their home address, whichever they choose to provide. So I'll give a moment more for people to fill out speaker cards. We've got one on North Main and County Line Road. We've got a zoning case at 66 in Clayton Forest, on Bodenhammer, another on Bodenhammer, and Hopkins Road. So if you're interested in any of those public hearings or any of the public session items, if you could go ahead and fill out a speaker card and hand it to our town manager, Curtis Swisher. Okay, I think everybody's set. Ms. Garner, if you could proceed with the public hearing information for 1A, Raymond Thomas, attorney for applicant, zoning docket K784A1 for property unaddressed on North Main Street, generally located southeast of the intersection of North Main and County Line Road.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, Mayor and Board. Our first rezoning tonight is a conditional rezoning. Ray Thomas is the agent for Nauset Investment Properties, who's the applicant. The requested rezoning is to go from limited business special to highway business conditional for the out parcel at Food Lion that's outlined in red. That parcel is just over an acre. The applicant is proposing uses that were previously adopted with the Food Lion rezoning. So all of these that are not bolded were uses that were approved for Food Lion in the previous rezoning in 2021. They are proposing to add restaurant with drive-through service. So this list is predominantly a list of approved uses in the limited business zoning district with the addition of the restaurant with drive-through use, which necessitated the change to highway business conditional. Surrounding zoning is limited business special with the 3 out parcels and the Food Lion tract, and then across the street, across County Line Road as well. Other adjacent zoning is limited industrial conditional and RS20 on the west side of North Main Street. There are 2 out parcels available at the Food Lion site between Macy Grove Road and County Line Road. There's a smaller one to the east of the internal drive that goes out to County Line Road. This rezoning request only includes that southern out parcel that is bounded by the internal drive to County Line and the internal drive coming off of North Main Street. The other remaining out parcel will develop under the existing zoning conditions, which will require a final development plan before the planning board. Since the planning board meeting, the applicant has started evaluating the site design and layout for both outparcels, and the applicant will be requesting a modification of the UDO's requirement to have a connection between the parking lots due to the small lot sizes. This is required in the Highway Corridor Overlay District, which does allow modifications with an alternative that promotes the intent or is something better than the strict interpretation of the ordinance. They are proposing an internal pedestrian connection in lieu of the automobile connection between the two parking lots. As I just mentioned, the site is within the Highway Corridor Overlay District. The stated intent of the Highway Corridor Overlay District is to enhance the overall image of the major highway corridors by establishing minimum building and site plan design standards, among other requirements. And in addition to those highway corridor standards, the current zoning stipulates the building design and materials meet the Central Kernersville Overlay District design standards, and we have recommended retaining that condition with this rezoning. The land use plan in this area is commercial neighborhood. This designation is intended to provide non-intrusive commercial areas that provide commercial development convenient to residential areas and are located along major thoroughfares. They are laid out to be small areas to prevent them from the promotion of creation of commercial strips. So the requested highway business zoning district does not conform to the current land use plan designation of commercial neighborhood, as the listed zoning districts that accommodate commercial neighborhood are neighborhood business, limited business, and neighborhood shopping center business and pedestrian business. However, the land use small area plan for this corner of North Main Street has a stipulation that the development shall meet the current zoning objectives for the approved neighborhood commercial development in the northeast corner of North Main Street and County Line Road to create a village setting with buildings fronting the primary streets and meeting the Central Kernersville Overlay District standard, along with a network of sidewalks. The plan also gives specific guidance on how the goals in this area may be achieved, stating that special use district, or now conditional use rezoning, shall be used to address the goals of ensuring high-quality design, traffic mitigation, and smooth transition between the land uses. So even though it's not a direct correlation from the designation of commercial neighborhood to highway business, we think with the site plan and the conditions that are adopted with the rezoning, the site could still be conforming to the intent of the commercial neighborhood land use plan designation, and then also the small area plan for North Main Street and County Line Road. This site is in the East Blues Creek watershed, and any areas that discharge to the Reedy Fork watershed will be limited to a 50% built upon area. Our town engineer reviews that at final development plan stage, and then again at civil construction plan. The final design of the stormwater control measure will be sized and located to accommodate drainage areas and impervious surfaces as required. So while the land use plan designation of commercial neighborhood does not include highway business in its list of supporting districts, a conditional use proposal is another avenue to support the designation's intent. The rezoning request has also been limited to uses only available in the limited business district and are harmonious with the Food Lion's approval, with the single exception of restaurant with drive-through service. Staff finds that with the rezoning request and the proposed conditions, the request meets the intent of the commercial neighborhood land use plan designation, as well as the intent of the small area plan for this section between North Main Street and Macy Grove and County Line Road. Planning Board and staff recommend approval of the request to change the zoning ordinances of the town of Kernersville by rezoning the property in this case from limited business special to highway business conditional. The rezoning is consistent with the town's comprehensive plan and further both reasonable and in the public interest because the request to rezone to the highway business conditional zoning district with the addition of the restaurant with drive-through service use is limited in scope and will likely help develop one of the two remaining outparcels on the site. And the limited highway business conditional district with the below conditions is in keeping with the land use plan's designation of this area as commercial neighborhood. Since it's a conditional rezoning, it would be approved subject to the site plan and conditions as presented in the staff report. These are shown here. I'm not intending to go over them unless there's a question about any of them. And then staff would also propose this additional condition that the applicant has requested you consider tonight, that interlock connectivity as required by UDO Section 3.10.D.1.B of the Highway Corridor Overlay District shall be met with an internal sidewalk that must be constructed to ADA standards, and final alignment between the two out parcels will be determined at civil construction plans. Rezoning case was heard at Planning Board in November, and all members present voted in favor of the request. Be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions of Ms. Garner at this time? Okay, this is a public hearing. I'll declare the public hearing open. I'll first recognize Ray Thomas. Ray, if you could go ahead and restate your name and address for the clerk as you begin. If you could go ahead and restate your name and your address for the clerk as you begin speaking.
The card I left up there, I'm sorry.
I have it.
Oh, okay. My name is Raymond D. Thomas, 116C South Cherry Street, Kernersville, North Carolina. I can remember when we started hearing zoning cases in the fire station or in the old courtroom upstairs. We didn't have this. And in fact, at that time, Roger Swisher was mayor. And when they brought up the zoning case, some of the aldermen, they didn't have maps, but Roger would have to tell them where it was. And some of them knew and some of them didn't. But we got along, and now here we are. In regard to this matter, this case was heard a couple of years ago, and it was not without some opposition. I'm hopeful when I realize that in the time that I've represented people before this board, it's one of the few times where we had a neighborhood meeting and there was no opposition, dealing with a staff, which I appreciate their cooperation and work with us. There is a recommendation in favor. The planning board had the same opinion. There was no opposition. And since I'm on a roll, I hope this board is of the same opinion. But generally, so far as uses, limited business, all of the uses in the limited business which was passed are now a part of HB highway business, and with one addition, and that is restaurant with drive-through. But considering the fact that this is a conditional, used to be special, conditional zoning, there can be more conditions placed on that particular lot, even though it does have a restaurant with drive-through. You can have it's approved, already been approved to have a restaurant without drive-through. There is one of the things that sometimes the code has to be able to be flexible in certain situations because not everything is the same. But in this case, it seems that you can take a little something that's not necessarily allowed, but join it with things that are allowed to work out an issue. There is one other matter that we would request the board to consider, and that is the joinder of parking lots with basically a driveway. When you start looking at the plans, in this particular case, the lot that you are considering will have to go through a second step, and that's phase 2 of the zoning, where the final plans are to be approved. The code provides when you have 2 parking lots together, in this particular situation, they have to be joined by automobile access. We're asking you to waive that. There will have to be sidewalks, and those sidewalks have to be of a certain kind and to fit in with the atmosphere of that particular area. Other than that, there's really no major change in what is anticipated on this particular property. So if any of you have any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer them. I would say that the developer, Conrad Giesner, is here all the way from Boston, and is a developer and is interested in this particular parcel, as well as the parcel immediately north. And I think you all would say that that area has taken on a different view from what it was 3 or 4 years ago, because it seems like a lot of people want to go to North Main Street. Do you have any questions? Thank you.
Okay. All right, later's fine. We'll wait. Thank you, Ray. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor? And this is an ability to speak without having previously signed up with a card, if you'd like to speak in favor of this proposal. All right. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to this rezoning? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed. Mr. Apple, you said you had a question. Mr. Thomas, could you come back to the microphone?
Thomas, I'm sure he answered this question.
Mr. Apple, could you use your microphone as well? Thank you.
I'm sorry, I don't know why. I think we wouldn't need this.
Sorry, I can't hear anyway.
I think I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. You are asking, or your client is asking, that we waive the normal requirement that there be interconnectivity for automobile traffic between the 2 parking lots. Would you speak with us a little bit about the rationale for that request?
Yes, one other thing. Everything, there is no access. Well, I guess if you were going to Food Line, it would be off of North Main Street or County Line Road or Macy Grove Road. But everything else, it's internal. Driveways, so forth, access to this lot and any other lot that out parcels that they have on this site, it'll be from inside of the project. There will be no direct access to North Main, County Line, or Macy Grove. It will have to use the system that's there.
Thank you.
Okay, any questions of staff? Would the, I have a question. Would the parking be required to be adequate for this third parcel when it comes in, provided by either the second parcel or the parcel that's already been developed? If there's not a driveway connection, how can it have any parking?
Oh, the driveway connection is to, can I approach the
Sure.
monitor and show you? That worked well last month, so rather than using my mouse that
Okay.
doesn't actually show anything. They're requesting to eliminate the connection between the two parcels. So this parcel, which is the one under rezoning, will still have an internal connection to this internal driveway, but because the two parcels are very narrow, especially that top one, the turning radius would be really difficult to accommodate with an interlot connectivity. So they want to do a sidewalk between the two and then leave the internal drive ability to like navigate the shopping center to the two existing private drives.
Okay, thank you. So if you're parked at business 2, well, business 1 is food line, or
Yes.
parcel 1 is food line. So
Yes.
if you're parked at parcel 2, which we're considering tonight, you couldn't drive from that parking lot to the parking lot of parcel 3. You'd have to go out onto the road, which Mr. Thomas has pointed out is internal road to the shopping center.
Correct.
And then turn back in. Or you could simply leave your car parked and walk
Correct.
on an ADA compliant sidewalk
Yes.
between the two businesses.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, are there any other questions or? So the request of Mr. Thomas, is it already incorporated into staff's recommendation, or would there have to be a change in order to do that?
If you'd like to take the motion that planning board has put forth and then add that as the planning board recommendation and then the additional condition presented tonight, then Keith and I can get that worked up into an ordinance.
Okay.
Catherine, we see a lot of those internal access only situations, don't we, in other developments of restaurant with drive-throughs?
It is a requirement of the ordinance, and it does serve a very important purpose, especially like if you think about the connection between the Target and the Walmart, it saves a lot of traffic from the main roads. And since this one has an internal road network already, it's not as important. It's still important, but the engineering design was going to be very difficult for both parcels to make it safe without people taking off bumpers and things like that. So that's why they proposed meeting the intent with something else, since they already also have the private drives.
So that makes sense to you from an engineering standpoint as well?
It does.
Okay, thank you. Madam Mayor, that having been said, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the proposed, I'm looking for my language here. Catherine? Okay, that we approve or change the zoning ordinance of the town to rezone the property in case K784.A1 from LB-S to HB-C. In that it's consistent with the town's comprehensive plan and further being both reasonable in the public interest for the reasons stated here. And that this request to change and its approval be subject to the site plan and the conditions contained within the staff report.
And does that include, if you put the language back up about the interconnectivity, did you want the additional
I did want to-
condition?
Yes, yes,
Because that is in the
I did want
report
to
tonight.
include the proposed condition having to do with waiver of interconnectivity.
And requiring a sidewalk.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
And I would second that.
Okay, I've got a motion by Alderman Apple, a second by Alderman Gorham. Mr. Hooker and Ms. Garner, did you get the motion? Okay. All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you. When do you expect to, since you've traveled here from Boston, when do you expect to build something on this?
I would suspect probably at the beginning of the summer.
Okay, thank you. All right, anything else on this case before we move on? We appreciate your time traveling here tonight. I hope you enjoy the Christmas lights as you travel around Kernersville. They're our special blinky lights. Mr. Thomas can tell you all about them. All right, moving on to our public hearing, item B, it's a rezoning. Jesse Lester, agent for owner, requesting a single-phase conditional rezoning from highway business special to highway business conditional for property addressed 1488 North Carolina Highway 66 South and unaddressed also, located northwest of the intersection of NC 66 South and Clayton Forest Road, zoning docket K547A8. And we do have Jesse Lester here to speak, but we'll begin with a presentation by our staff. Ms. Garner?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Our next rezoning is a single-phase conditional rezoning. Jesse Lester is the agent for the owner, which is D2 Dario LLC and 801 Land Holdings LLC. The requested rezoning is highway business special to highway business conditional for 1.797 acres. That's the existing Dario parcel and a little bit of the parcel to the north. So the original Dario parcel was zoned HBS in case K547 in 2000. The original rezoning was part of Stafford Center, and the Stafford Center was broken up into various sections A, B, C, and D. Property in question tonight is part of Area A, which was assigned uses that tended towards office and service type uses. Then case K547A3 was approved in July of 2015, which adopted a site plan and allowed for the restaurant with drive-through use that we now know as Dario. It is on the corner of the Clayton Forest Road and NC 66 South, and properties surrounding it are zoned highway business special, general industrial, and there is a little RS20 catty corner from the site. This rezoning, is because the Dario site is looking to slightly redevelop and expand their parking lot. If you've been there at any of the busy times, and probably even when it's not a busy time, that parking lot is bursting at the seams. So they are seeking to modify their existing approval and then expand into the next parcel. The rezoning use stays the same, restaurant with drive-through service. And then this is the site plan that they are proposing with this rezoning. So it's still the one building. On the two parcels, we will require at civil construction plans that property line be moved. There will be sidewalk connections provided to Clayton Forest and Abbott's Trace Drive rights of way, and the 28-foot street yards are provided along the new parking area. The existing street yards will be maintained as shown on the site plan as they exist, because we love mature landscaping and they have very nice street yards out there. And they're adding 18 new parking spaces in the area being added, along with a larger drive-through. The modification of the drive-through allows more vehicles for stacking. Modification to improve ADA access from parking to the building is another feature of this plan. And they are also modifying the sidewalk connection to Abbott's Trace Drive to maintain pedestrian access. They are also proposing to use a bike rack to meet some parking requirements while also maintaining pedestrian access throughout the parking lot. The land use plan for this area is designated as commercial. Commercial areas have been established to provide for high traffic commercial areas. They are located in 3 separate areas and limited in size to prevent them from overburdening the capacity of the roads and distracting from Kernersville's small town atmosphere. This development is consistent with the land use plan. It is in harmony. This was also heard at the November Planning Board meeting, and Planning Board and staff recommend approval of the rezoning and modifying the Unified Development Ordinance by rezoning the property in case K574A8, or it should be 547, that's a typo, from highway business special to highway business conditional, finding the rezoning to be consistent with the town's comprehensive plan, and further being both reasonable and in the public interest because of the following. Number one, the requested use complies with the original rezoning's vision of service, office, and commercial uses along NC 66 South. Number two, the additional parking will alleviate instances of individuals having to park along the right-of-way on Abbott's Trace Drive. And three, the proposed zoning remains in conformance with the land use plan. We are also recommending approval of the site plan and conditions as presented in the staff report. All members present at the November meeting voted in favor of this request. And I'd be happy to take any questions that you have.
Are there any questions of Ms. Garner at this time?
I have one. What does that do to that other little piece of property there? I mean, in terms of, what they can do with it in the future.
Sure. So they're rezoning only this small portion that the parking is needed. So that way, the remainder of the parcel, when they move that property boundary, the remainder of the parcel will be its own parcel and somebody could propose to develop that. So that's why they're doing the portion of with the boundary line adjustment instead of locking up that whole piece and leaving a significant tract vacant. But there are no plans at this time that I'm aware of.
Good deal. Thank you, Catherine.
Catherine, didn't we just rezone that parcel to the north? It seems like just recently something came across that it was either a cleaner or Starbucks or something else that was on that parcel. 5 years ago? Okay.
Yeah, and some of the parking was supposed to be allocated for Dario at that time.
Okay, thank you.
You're remembering exactly right.
Yeah, okay.
Catherine, you made a statement about the moving the property line that would also allow for some modification of the drive-in access or expansion of that. Do we know, and is it relevant to our consideration tonight, whether that's going to be something like a dual one similar to what we see at Chick-fil-A here, or is it an extended single?
They are showing a double drive-through within their site plan. I think most people are going to that now. That's what we've seen a lot of.
Thank you.
Okay, this is a public hearing. I'll declare the public hearing open, and I'll recognize Jesse Lester first.
Thank you. Jesse Lester, 601 North Trade Street in Winston-Salem. I work for Stemmel Associates. We're the civil engineers that prepared the rezoning plan for Dario. Also did the original Dario construction documents back in the day, back when I had more hair. So I really don't have a specific presentation, but I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about the proposal.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, is there anyone else here to speak in favor? Is there anyone here in opposition? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed. What impact does the bike rack have on the parking requirements?
The ordinance allows you to slightly reduce the amount of parking that you have to provide if you're providing bike racks. So it's like 2%, it's not very many. But sometimes sites that are really constrained, if they can lose one space, then it really helps them out.
Okay, thank you. All right, is there any discussion or do I have a motion?
Motion to approve as written by staff.
Okay, I've got a motion to approve the rezoning as recommended by staff.
Second.
Seconds are all over the place.
I'll second it.
All right, I've got Mayor Pro Tem Thompson making the motion. Have a second by Alderman J.R. Gorham. All in favor? It's unanimous. All righty.
Madam Mayor, I just want to say that it really is a pleasure to participate in this process when previous projects that were approved have prospered and thrived to the point that you need to grow like this, and that's extremely rewarding. That's one of the, in lieu of making any money doing this, that's one of the rewarding factors. Well, you are too. Thank you.
And we do appreciate Dario providing more parking in that location and a better drive-through design. It's a very, very popular restaurant. Mhm. You're welcome. Thank you. Express our appreciation for the improvements there. If you didn't hear, he said that this double drive-through had recently been built in Clemens, so they're trying to bring that design here as well. So we appreciate it. A very, very popular restaurant. Thank you. All right, we are to public hearing items C. I've got Nicholas Gonzalez, agent for owner. It is a request to go from a general rezoning from GB, general business, to PB, pedestrian business, for property addressed at 313 and 315 East Bodenhammer Street, zoning docket K722A1. And I do have Nicholas Gonzalez here to speak, but we will begin with a presentation by Ms. Gardner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is a general rezoning. Our next three cases, this one and the two following, are all general rezonings. The petitioner is Nicholas Gonzalez, who is the agent for the owner, being Griffith Plaza Partners, LLC. They are looking to rezone this site from general business to pedestrian business, with all pedestrian business uses applying. And the parcel is 0.67 acres on East Bodenhammer Street, right next to Marble Granite World. So it's the little house that if you blink, you'll miss it, on Bodenhammer. Surrounding zoning in this area is general business to the north and the east and pedestrian business to the south. Marble Granite World is also zoned pedestrian business. And to the west across East Bodenhammer Street is general industrial. The pedestrian business district is primarily intended to accommodate office, retail, service, institutional, and high-density residential uses, which customarily serve community and convenience business needs of smaller communities and urban nodes in the town. District is intended to encourage the development of attractive, identifiable small towns and to accommodate the pattern of building in the business concentrations surrounding the central core of Kernersville. The purpose of this rezoning is to take the parcel from general business to pedestrian business. It would open up some more uses to the property owner as they're looking to develop and rent out space within the existing buildings. There are two buildings on site. One building is currently operating as a motor vehicle repair and maintenance use, and there is a second building that has previously been used for residential single family. Currently, the residential use is considered to be non-conforming, and so as such, the applicant is applying for this rezoning to remove the non-conforming status from the site for the residential use. So this, we're trying out a couple different variations of how to show uses that are allowed in a zoning district, especially when we're comparing two different zoning districts, so pedestrian business and general business, and then also show the ones that are not allowed by the overlay district. So we're trying this out. I don't know how we feel about it, but we'll, bear with us. Anything that is highlighted in green is a use that would be added by this rezoning if it were approved. If it is blue, it is being removed, and then the watermelon fuchsia color are uses that are prohibited by the overlay district. So green is go, blue is no, and then pink is uses that are prohibited by the overlay district regardless of the zoning district.
I think I like it, except maybe do the strikeouts on the watermelon fuchsia color as well.
Okay.
Because if it's struck out, then you think that can't be on that site.
That's helpful.
It would be good for the board to be aware if for some reason they changed the overlay district requirement, then they would be back in.
Sure.
Do y'all, any other suggestions?
Okay, so these are the other, so there are two, so the text is readable. There are 2 pages of these, but these are in the staff report.
I do like the green being in italics, because then it kind of draws your eye to it that this is a change too. So this is helpful. Thank you, Catherine.
The land use plan for this site identifies this area as mixed use, which is established to accommodate a variety of uses, which may range from residential, commercial, office, and industrial uses. Additionally, this location is in the greater downtown area, which is defined by the land use plan as follows. Downtown area remains the traditional town center with a mix of offices, stores, restaurant services, banks, government office, industry, and housing. To promote the downtown, that mix needs to be maintained, along with the development of new civic and community services into downtown, and the majority of growth and change will be concentrated in redevelopment of property. This property has been used for a residential building, single family, non-conforming use, and a conforming auto repair use. The rezoning would allow for both uses to continue, in addition to offering other opportunities that may be more in conformance with the goals of the land use plan upon future redevelopment. Pedestrian business designation and uses are consistent with the surrounding area and will aid in helping the town have a more cohesive commercial network as we head into downtown as part of the greater downtown area envisioned by the land use plan. This was heard at the November Planning Board meeting as well. The motion is to amend the zoning ordinance of the town by rezoning the property in this case from GB to PB, the rezoning being consistent with the town's comprehensive plan and further being both reasonable and in the public interest, because the request to rezone to the pedestrian business zoning district is consistent with the land use plan, and the new zoning designation will help allow for a better fulfillment of the mixed use designation in the land use plan through the variety of possible redevelopment avenues. I don't know what happened to my voting slide, but all members that were there voted present at the November meeting, or voted in favor. Oh, there it is, it's hidden.
Any questions of staff? Okay. This is a public hearing. I'll declare the public hearing open. I have Mr. Gonzalez signed up to speak.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Nicholas Gonzalez, 206 West 4th Street in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I think the presentation did a great job just to provide a quick summary. As was mentioned, the property consists of a house and a garage. The garage serves as an auto repair facility, and the house has been occupied and used as residential for as long as we know. The house looks like a house, smells like a house, acts like a house, and so the non-conforming use creates this added hurdle in our ability to be able to utilize it for residential purposes, which is our current desire. And so really the rezoning is a function of just removing that non-conforming hurdle so we can more readily use the property what it was purpose-built for. We met with staff about this request. We held a neighborhood meeting and had no opposition. I was unable to attend the planning meeting, but my associate did, and everybody was for this motion. And we think, overall it'll just help accommodate, what the property was purpose-built for. We're proud of the property and are going to maintain it really well and look forward to using it for what we think its best uses. So that's all I've got.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else here in favor? Seeing none, is there anyone here in opposition? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we accept and approve the amendment to zoning ordinance recommended in the staff and board recommendation with any conditions contained therein.
Okay, I have a motion by Alderman Apple, second by Mayor Pro Tem Thompson. All in favor? It's unanimous. We'll sign it and get you conforming now. All right.
I got a question about this. I mean, you know, I voted for it and all, for Catherine. This house that's sitting on that piece of property has been there for, I know, 70 years, because that's how long I've been riding past it. Are you telling me that you couldn't rent that thing till we got it rezoned?
There were discrepancies in our records as to what the last valid use was. So the last permit that we issued for that house was for it to be an office. Mr. Gonzalez had information that someone had been living in it. We had no record that it had been reverted to a residential use. So we said, okay, the easiest way to clean this up once and for all is to rezone it. Then you have the option of commercial, you have the option of residential, and everything is coming out in the wash.
Okay. That seems awful strange to me. It's always been a house that people lived in, as far as I can remember.
Right, but we did have a record that we had permitted the house as a commercial business. So we didn't have another permit stating that it had changed. So the rezoning was an attempt to clean that up so that he has the option to rent it commercially or residentially.
Cool, good deal. Thank you, Catherine.
Okay, anything further on this matter? We will move on then to item D. It is another rezoning. Gabriel Price, agent for owner, for general rezoning from GI General Industrial to GB General Business for property addressed at 503 East Bodenhammer Street, zoning docket K822. Ms. Garner?
Gabriel Price is the agent for Cripula Abodes LLC, who is seeking to rezone the property at 503 East Bodenhammer Street from general industrial to general business. This one is 1.11 acres on the corner of East Bodenhammer and Justice Street. The petitioner has requested a general use rezoning, so there's no conditions, no stated or no limited uses. It's all uses that are allowed in general business. The property is currently zoned general industrial, so there are fewer higher intensity uses that are permitted in general business as compared to general industrial. The general business district is intended to accommodate a wide range of retail, service, and office uses located along thoroughfares such as East Bodenhammer. Surrounding properties are zoned as follows. To the north and the east is residential single family. Also to the east is another property zoned general industrial. To the south and west, the properties are zoned general business. The land use plan, similar to the last case, identifies this area as mixed use, which is established to accommodate a variety of uses which may range from residential, commercial, office, and industrial. And it is also located in the greater downtown area, which is intended to provide a mix of offices, stores, restaurants, services, banks, government offices, industry, and housing, and promotes a mix along the thoroughfares heading into downtown. These are the uses that are allowed in general business. Again, general industrial provides for a lot more industrial type uses, and this is definitely more in the business category. At Planning Board, we did have some neighbors who live in the parcels immediately around this one express some concern about the rezoning request and the intrusion of commercial into their neighborhood. And we did discuss at Planning Board how that is understood. But these uses are at least not as intense as that of general industrial as it is currently zoned. So the request to rezone the property from general industrial to general business is in conformance with the requirements set forth in the UDO for rezonings and the land use plan because of the following reasons. The general business uses are more consistent with the surrounding area as compared to general industrial, which helps the town have a more cohesive commercial network in the greater downtown area. And further compliance with zoning and overlay district requirements will be verified at the time of change of use. We do not know the applicant's intent at this point, and with general use rezonings, they're not required to state that. So in case 822, Planning Board and staff do recommend to approve the requested rezoning and amendment to the Unified Development Ordinance, finding that the rezoning is consistent with the comprehensive plan and is reasonable and in the public interest because the request to rezone to general business is in conformance with the land use plan. At the November Planning Board meeting, all members who were present voted in favor of this request. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for Ms. Garner at this time?
I reckon it would be to the south of this. Is that the Peach automotive place? Is that what's next door to that?
Yes.
And is there anything on the lot that we're rezoning?
There is a house and a separate garage, I believe, that's been there.
Is that Stockton's old place?
Yes.
Okay. I was just trying to figure out exactly what it was. Thank you.
Okay, this is a public hearing. I'll declare the public hearing open. Is there anyone here to speak in favor? And you do not have to have signed up on a speaker card. You can still speak in favor if you'd like to. Seeing none, is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Is there anyone here to speak with questions? All right, seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed.
Madam Mayor, I move approval.
Had a motion by Alderman Penix,
Second.
second by Alderman Gorham. All in favor for approval? It's unanimous. All right, we are moving on then to item E, also Gabrielle Price. This is a rezoning from HB, Highway Business, and RS12, Residential Single Family, to Highway Business for property addressed 656 Hopkins Road. Zoning docket K340A1. Ms. Garner?
Madam Mayor, our last rezoning tonight is 656 Hopkins Road, which is the old Tally's Crossing Fire Station. Gabriel Price, agent for Cripula Abodes LLC, is seeking to rezone this property from Highway Business and Residential Single Family 12 to Highway Business. The parcel itself is 0.7 acres. The petitioner has requested this rezoning to clean up the split zoning between Highway Business and RS12. That will allow redevelopment of the site. Highway Business District is intended to accommodate retail service and distributive uses that require high visibility and good road access. The property is already surrounded by a variety of commercial and residential zoning types. The land use plan identifies this area as mixed use, which was established to accommodate a variety of uses, which may range from residential, commercial, office, and industrial uses. This parcel is located within both the neighborhood scale corridor overlay district, the NSCOD, shown in the green. It's a circle around the intersection, and the highway corridor overlay district, as shown in blue along Hopkins Road. The highway corridor overlay district regulates major thoroughfare development using building standards, parking, use restrictions, etc. And the neighborhood scale corridor overlay district is unique from other overlays because it has a set list of permitted uses and strict lighting standards, ensuring that uses in these districts have minimal impacts on surrounding properties and are tailored to meet the needs of the neighborhoods surrounding them. So the table to the right, which comes out of our UDO table 3.9, shows a list of uses that are permitted in the Highway Business Zoning District, permitted in the Neighborhood Scale Corridor Overlay District, and not prohibited in the Highway Corridor Overlay District. So unlike the previous ones, which have spanned multiple slides, this is it. So these are the only uses that would be allowed on the site between the zoning and both overlay districts. So it's some small commercial types, convenience store, general merchandise store, some churches, restaurants, bed and breakfast, car wash, some government uses, and that's pretty much it. It's a pretty small use list. This parcel has an interesting history in that both of the parcels that were reconfigured into the parcel as you know it today with a little frying pan handle were annexed into the town in June of 1990. The southern area of the lot, which is shown in yellow and currently zoned RS12, was rezoned from Forsyth County's R5 and R6 to Kernersville's R12, which is now known as RS12, in September 1990. And the northern area of land, which is currently zoned as highway business, was rezoned from Forsyth County's B3 to Kernersville's BHB, which is equivalent to our highway business, in September of 1990. And then in October of 1990 and June of 1991, attempts were made to rezone the current parcel to general business, but both attempts were denied by the Board of Aldermen over two concerns: the impact to the neighboring residential uses and the impacts to the proposed thoroughfare. So Hopkins Road is a thoroughfare that is under a lot of discussion with the impending NCDOT project. This site is accessed off of Hopkins Road, which will be expanded in front of this building. And DOT has already made accommodations for the lot to be accessed. It will change how the lot is accessed, but the needs of the thoroughfare are being met. And so that necessitates the need for additional redevelopment opportunities on the site, particularly in that southern portion where they would need to provide parking and things like that. So the nearby expansion of Hopkins Road and the fire station ceasing operations in the building has made rezoning a necessary step in the redevelopment of this lot, as the parking requirements of the UDO are not able to be met solely in the highway business portion of the lot where the building is. So if the southern portion of the lot were to be used for parking, it will be accessed from a driveway connection that has already been planned for by DOT. The previous rezoning concerns have been alleviated with the introduction of the Neighborhood Scale Corridor Overlay District and a thoroughfare expansion that has taken into account how this lot will be used in the future. And the request to rezone the property from highway business and RS12 to highway business is in conformance with all rezoning requirements set in the UDO and land use requirements as set forth in the land use plan. With the approval of a rezoning, any expansions or changes in use will be reviewed by staff to ensure that buffer yards, street yards, parking, and landscaping are in accordance with UDO requirements, and this does clean up an existing split zoning situation. Planning Board and staff do recommend approving the requested rezoning and the amendment to the Unified Development Ordinance for the town in case K340.A1, finding the rezoning is consistent with the town's comprehensive plan and further being both reasonable and in the public interest because the request to rezone to the highway business zoning district is consistent with the land use plan, and the request to rezone would allow for redevelopment of the parcel where otherwise it would be difficult to do so. And this was heard at the November Planning Board meeting with all members present voting in favor. Be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions at this time?
I got one. At the bottom of this thing, there was a house there, and they tore it down, raised the lot. Why?
I have no idea. I've only known this parcel to have the fire station on it.
At the very bottom there, where, you know, if you're looking at your map, where it says Hopkins Road, right above that, there was a house and a lot there, and they tore it down. And
Oh, that may be DOT for the road widening, but I don't think that's associated with this parcel and this request.
the DOT's gonna get in part of what he's got going on right there, right? Okay.
DOT has acquired some additional right-of-way, so it takes the edge of the right-of-way pretty much right up to the front of the building, so the bays would be not useful for parking, so which makes that the larger piece at the south of this parcel more important for any type of redevelopment of the building. But for the house, my guess would be that it's related to the Hopkins Road project.
Okay. I wondered, how'd that wind up being such a mess with the convenience store and the fire department right on each other like that?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Okay, I wondered. Good deal. Thank you, Catherine.
That was before Curtis was elected, so 1990, maybe Joe knows. Okay. What? You weren't following the Board of Aldermen zoning in 1991? I don't know, Curtis might remember. All right, one of those unanswered questions. Keith can probably find it in the minutes somewhere.
But some of the things that we're talking about doing peripherally there, infrastructure things, will at least provide an opportunity to clean some of that up, though, as I understand it. There'll be an opportunity for some further development down Mountain Street. Am I remembering correctly about that?
All right, well, if there's not a question at this time,
I got it.
we'll leave the philosophical discussion for later and go ahead and do our public hearing.
I'm just trying to figure out how it's fitting together here.
All right, this is a public hearing, and I'll declare the public hearing open. Is there anyone here to speak in favor? Seeing none, is there anyone here in opposition? Seeing none, is there anyone here with questions? All right, there's no one interested in speaking at this particular public hearing, so I'll declare it closed. All right, we will resume our philosophical and practical discussion.
Madam Mayor, in view of my clear understanding of the totality of this, I'd like to move that we approve the staff recommendation for rezoning amendment to the UDO as proposed for the K 340.A1.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second? Got a motion by Mr. Apple, a second by Mayor Pro Tem Thompson. All in favor? It's unanimous. All righty. Moving on. Anything more on public hearings? Are we good? Okay, we're moving on to the public session. Speakers from the floor. Is there anyone who'd like to address the board on an item that is not included on the agenda? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to consideration of a resolution setting the public hearing for a voluntary contiguous annexation of property located at 0 Brookford Road, consisting of 15.03 acres more or less. This is public session item B. Ms. Garner or Mr. Swisher?
Yeah, this is a parcel on, it says 0 Brookford Road, but it's actually on Kernersville Medical Parkway. It was before the land was split. It's just as you pass Brookford Road. It's a parcel on the right if you're going toward the hospital. And I think this is one of the tracks that we required to annex in when we ran sewer up through Brookford Road, up through that way.
Okay, so this property got its address before Kernersville Medical Parkway was
Correct.
even built? Okay.
Yes. And I think, do you remember, Catherine, is this one of the parcels? That was before you were here, but you may have seen it. There were 3 or 4 parcels that we required annexation of once they developed because we ran sewer to them.
I think this is one of those, it was either annexed by a date certain or whenever development comes, whichever is first. And then to add on, we would like the hearing to be set for your February 4th Board of Aldermen meeting. We had an issue with advertising for the case, and so it will be going to the January Planning Board meeting, so we have time to re-advertise. And so then that would push the annexation back to coincide with the rezoning.
Okay, any questions, or do I have a motion? Motion to approve by Mayor Pro Tem Thompson.
Second.
Second by Alderman Gorham. All in favor? It's unanimous. All right, item C, we are back to talking about parking on Salem Crossing Road. Mr. Swisher.
This came up, I think, last month. the residents on Salem Crossing Road came up, made a presentation asking the board to adopt this. So you have in your packet the ordinance amending the traffic schedule that adds a no stopping and parking category, and it is Salem Crossing Road, both sides of the road from Tig Lane to Squires Lane, Monday through Friday on school days from 7:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. and from 2:30 p.m. to 4 p.m.
Okay. Do I have any questions, or do I have a motion to approve?
I move approval.
Got a motion by Alderman Penix,
Second.
second by Alderman Apple. All in favor? It's unanimous. I'd like us to keep monitoring that, and if it becomes a problem for other times of day for school activities, that we expand or restrict it as the conditions warrant. Because if there's an Amazon truck that wants to stop by the side of the road and there's not a bunch of school kids there, I'd like them to be able to do what they, there could be just lots of things. Maybe that's a bad example, but if there's something reasonable that people do in their normal course, just, I guess I was anticipating parking pulling over so you're not blocking the road though. Seems like there could be a lot of reasons people might do it for a reason that doesn't affect the school. All right. Town manager's report. Mr. Swisher?
I have 3 brief items. 2 of those are in your packet. I'll start with the one that is not. Deputy Chief Robinson and Chief Alderman in the fire department, I met with him this morning regarding a grant that has been extended that will help pay for construction and renovation of public safety buildings. So we are asking permission of the board to apply for a grant to do renovations to the Colfax Station 16. As you all know, we are now in that station there, and it's about 40 years old. Is that right, Chief? So we've looked at renovating that much like we did the Beeson's Crossroads Fire Station. So we would apply for the grant if the board approves us to do so, and then of course before we accept it, it would come back to this board for approval. But pretty short window to apply for it. That's why it's not an item on your agenda. I'm bringing it up tonight. But again, that we just send in a letter of interest and apply for it. It doesn't commit the board to anything until if we get awarded the grant, and then you vote to accept it. So if you can approve that, if you would make a motion to approve application of the grant, we will do so in the next couple of days.
So move.
Okay, I've got a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Thompson, second by Alderman Barrow. All in favor? It's unanimous. What's your second item?
The second item you have in your packet, it is a resolution declaring property surplus. Actually, you don't have in your packet.
I don't think we have that, Curtis.
I'll go to the one you do have in your packet and then pass this one out. You have one in your packet. This came up at the same meeting that the ladies were here speaking about the parking on Salem Crossing Drive. They asked, and I think the mayor asked, and the board asked as well, to look at adopting a resolution to lower the speed limit on Tig Lane. So you have in your packet an ordinance that will do that. We would send that ordinance then to DOT to see if they would concur with it. So what it does is we ask them to lower the speed limit on Tig Lane, basically from Glenwater Drive north to Old Salem Road. Glenwater Drive is a road just, if you're going south, it's just past Haddington. If you're coming north, it's just before you get to it. So that would lower that speed limit from 45 to 35. And then in that same same ordinance, we're asking them to lower the speed limit in the school zone from 35 to 25, and also install a flashing speed zone signs in that school zone district. So you have that ordinance. You don't have to vote on it tonight. If you'd like to wait and read it and vote on it next meeting, that's fine also. But if you approve it, we will send it on to DOT for their concurrence, which it's not likely they will, but we can send it to them and ask.
I think we've got extra of these. do you have that printed for us up here, or
Did you give it to him, Keith?
that the one?
You should have a resolution declaring the property surplus, which is the one that just came out, but the one I just covered, you should have at your place.
Do y'all have it? I've got the traffic schedule one.
That's it. The title of the ordinance that I just discussed is an ordinance amending traffic schedule 2 of chapter 9.
Oh,
That
okay,
changes
I thought that
speed.
was the no stopping or parking. Okay,
No,
all right. I
I
didn't
didn't
read
make
it
a
because
copy
we.
of that one.
Okay, I didn't read it because that one's attached, so I thought it was the same thing.
No,
Just
okay.
printed, okay. Can we load it after the meeting? Okay. And so Curtis has read this out loud, and then you do have a copy printed at your place here on the board. And then we have a new resolution that just got handed out that you're going to talk about as your third item, right?
Correct, yes.
Okay, so has everyone had a chance to consider the ordinance amending the traffic schedule relating to the speeds along Teague Lane? Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion to approve by Alderman Apple,
Second.
second by Alderman Gorham. All in favor? It's unanimous. All right, Mr. Swisher.
And the last piece you have that I have to cover is the resolution that just came to you. That's declaring surplus the real property and metal building located at 1528 Teague Lane. That is the old fire station right beside Caleb's Creek Elementary. We need to declare it surplus so that we can then set a date and time to auction it off. So we will bring that probably back to you next month, but we need to go ahead and declare it surplus first.
So I had thought at one point in time the school system wanted to buy that if we weren't going to be using it.
They have not indicated in the last few years any interest in buying it. And I can certainly contact them and ask them.
I would
but,
like to ask them before we put it to an auction, if that's
all right.
okay.
Either way, you have to declare it surplus, so I will ask them if they're interested in it before we auction.
And then, do an appraisal and sell it to them. And, I mean, we purchased it and we've upfitted it, and so if they'd like to have it, but it has been a while. Don Martin was the one who mentioned it to me a while back, but it may be that they could use it for future school purposes, and it kind of blocks the view of the school as you go in.
Yep, we'll contact them.
Okay. All right, do I have a motion to adopt this resolution declaring the property at 1528 Teague Lane surplus?
So moved.
Got a motion by J.R. Gorham. Do I have a second? Second by Mayor Pro Tem Thompson. All in favor? It's unanimous.
And the last item, you also have in front of you the budget actual report year to date, ending November 30th, 2024. So if you have any questions about that, just let me know. And that's all I have.
Okay. The next is matters to be presented by our town attorney, Mr. Powell.
Madam Mayor, the reason I'm sitting back here tonight is I do have a severe cold and I won't give it to anybody, so I'm not just trying to hide from recognition or anything like that. I'd also like to say that this will be the last meeting of the board this year, so I'd like to wish the mayor and the board and all the staff a very Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Ed. All right. Matters to be presented by the mayor and board of aldermen. Mr. Thompson?
Nothing at this time, thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam
Mr.
Mayor, I
Apple?
do have one thing, and this probably falls in the category of old news by now, but we have a town department chief, our fire and rescue department, who was recently recognized by the chamber at its awards banquet as Citizen of the Year, and that would be Chief Scott Alderman. And if you happened to read the citation that went along with that, along with his quotes having to do with his utter amazement that he received it, I couldn't disagree with him more about utter amazement that he received it. It was a phenomenal award for the chief, and I think the town is certainly proud, Chief, of you individually and of the department that you lead for representing us with that quality. Thank you. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Chief. Alderman Gorham.
No comments.
Alderman Penix.
I have nothing.
I wanted to express appreciation to Adam Hutchins, Keith Hooker, and Beth Price, who've all gone above and beyond recently to help with various things going on. So I really appreciate their extra assistance, even in a busy holiday season. And also, I wanted to let everyone know, it looks like Harlan has announced her retirement, who has served the town well in the custodial services for this building. I'm sure you all know her, and she's been recognized as an Employee of the Year in the past and has just done an outstanding job for the town of Kernersville with her patience and grace and just dedication to serving the citizens of Kernersville and helping the town run smoothly and properly. And we really appreciate all that Harlan has done for the town of Kernersville and wish her the very, very best in her last few weeks here with the town of Kernersville. All right, so looking forward to all the festivities. I'm glad Ernie's not here because he's got a lot to get ready for with the big grand opening of the Recreation Center. I think the newspaper reported it had been basically decades that the community had been working on an idea for having a recreation center, but I have a very good recollection that Ernie had a scrapbook that he showed several years ago with a clipping from about 50 years ago about having a recreation center. So it was at least 40, if not longer, that the idea has been out there. So it'll be great to see what we have for the community, and looking forward to many great things that happen in and around that building in our Ivy Redmond Park, which we're very proud of for years to come. So a really wonderful way, if you're thinking about year in review, a really wonderful way to end the year is opening that the Recreation and Event Center. So we are looking forward to that. I hope to see everybody at the holiday festivities, the parade, and enjoying life in Kernersville during the holidays. So I wish each of you all very merry and happy holidays, a Merry Christmas, and a wonderful New Year until we all meet again. So if there's no further business before this board, could I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Got a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Thompson, second by Alderman Gorham. All in favor? It's unanimous. This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you for joining us.